Welcome to EtherLink AI Insights. I'm Alex, and today we're diving into a topic that's reshaping how enterprises think about AI deployment. We're talking about AI workflows over agents, and why this distinction matters so much for ROI, especially in places like Eindhoven where innovation is happening at lightning speed. Sam, this is a fascinating shift we're seeing, isn't it?
Absolutely, Alex. And what's interesting is that most organizations still think of AI agents as the silver bullet. The autonomous systems that just go off and do their thing. But what the data's showing us, and this is backed by McKinsey, is that enterprises using structured workflows are getting 3.5 times higher ROI than those betting on standalone agents alone.
3.5 times higher. That's not a marginal improvement, that's transformational. But I think a lot of listeners might be wondering, what's the actual difference? Is it just semantics or is there something real here?
It's very real. Here's the core distinction. Standalone agents are great at single autonomous tasks. They answer a question, process a document, handle a customer interaction on their own, but they're black boxes in a lot of ways. Workflows, on the other hand, orchestrate multiple AI and human touchpoints into measurable, auditable processes. You can see what's happening at every step.
So it's like the difference between having a brilliant freelancer who works independently versus having them integrated into your actual business process where you can track, measure, and improve outcomes. That makes sense. And for enterprises in Eindhoven, companies like Phillips and ASML that you'd expect to be cutting edge, they're actually choosing workflows. Why?
Because they care about measurable outcomes, not just technological novelty. Workflows give them predictable cost savings, compliance assurance, which is huge with the EU AI Act, consistent customer satisfaction across touchpoints, and they see value in weeks, not months. You can't get that with a standalone agent sitting in isolation.
That timeline is critical. 8 to 12 weeks to measurable customer service automation improvements? That's not theoretical. That's real business impact. But I'm curious, if agents are getting all the hype, why aren't more enterprises just jumping on that bandwagon?
Because Gartner's 2025 hype cycle has a gentick AI sitting right at the peak of inflated expectations. And if you look at what happens to organizations that rush into standalone agents without workflow integration, unpredictable performance, compliance nightmares, no way to measure ROI, integration hell with legacy systems, it's a mess. The enterprises that got it right from the start? They built workflows first.
So the hype is loud, but the results are in the workflows. Let's talk about something that really sets workflows apart: measurability. You mentioned earlier that you can track outcomes at every step. How does that actually translate into business value?
Forrester found that workflow-based AI systems track 7 to 12 distinct performance metrics per deployment versus 2 to 3 for agent-only setups. We're talking efficiency metrics, process time, automation rates, handoff frequency, quality metrics, first contact resolution, CSAT scores, error rates, financial metrics, cost per interaction, actual ROI, and critically, compliance metrics with full audit trails.
You can actually prove it works. That's the difference between an AI initiative and a real business investment. And I imagine that matters enormously in regulated environments, right?
It's everything. EU AI Act compliance isn't a checkbox, it's a legal requirement, and workflows give you the transparency and audit trails you need. Plus, you can monitor for bias, track regulatory alignment. With a standalone agent, you're often flying blind from a compliance perspective.
So let's get practical. If someone listening is sitting in an enterprise right now, maybe they're considering AI investments, how should they be thinking about the workflow versus agent decision?
First, define your actual business problem, not the technology problem, the business problem. Do you need to reduce operational costs, improve customer experience, accelerate decision-making? Then ask, which approach actually lets me measure whether I'm solving it? Workflows force you to be clear about success metrics from day one. Agents, they often leave that fuzzy.
So clarity of measurement is almost the litmus test. If you can't clearly define what success looks like, you probably shouldn't be deploying yet. let alone betting on a standalone agent.
Exactly. And second, think about integration. Most enterprises have legacy systems, compliance requirements, existing customer touchpoints. Workflows integrate into that reality. They work with what you have while bringing new capability. Agents often create new silos, which defeats the purpose.
I'm struck by something you mentioned earlier. This is less about technology sophistication and more about the ability to measure, optimize, and prove value. That's a fundamentally different mindset than what tech companies usually sell us.
Right. The narrative around AI is always more sophisticated, more autonomous, more intelligent. But for enterprises, it's, does this actually improve my business? Can I prove it, and can I scale it reliably? Workflows answer all three. Standalone agents struggle with the last two.
And if IBM's data shows that organizations measuring AI ROI through workflows achieve 42% improvements, which I assume is the start of a longer list of benefits, that's the real story. Not the technology itself, but the measurable difference it makes.
Absolutely, and that matters globally, but it especially matters in Eindhoven, where you've got this cluster of incredibly sophisticated companies competing on innovation. They can't afford to chase hype, they need results.
So if you're listening and you're responsible for AI strategy in your organization, the key takeaway is this. Workflows aren't less exciting than agents. They're more valuable. They're the approach that actually delivers ROI, compliance, and scalability in the real world.
And they're not slow. 8 to 12 weeks to measurable impact. That's faster than most enterprise initiatives. You're not trading innovation for results. You're getting both by being thoughtful about how you structure the AI alongside your business.
Brilliant. Sam, thanks for breaking this down. For everyone listening who wants to dive deeper into the data, the frameworks, and the strategic guidance for building these systems, head over to EtherLink AI and find the full article on AI workflows over agents. Thanks for joining us on EtherLink AI Insights.
Thanks, Alex. Great conversation.